We are here today to salute the fighting spirit of revolutionaries who resisted colonialism and subjugation of the black majority. We therefore are here to salute all liberation heroes and heroines, the kings and the queens who resisted colonial invasion, and the freedom fighters who refused to bow to the colonial masters. We are here to salute Haile Selassie, Julius Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah, Kenneth Kaunda, Patrice Lumumba, Amilcar Cabral, Toan Sanara, Nelson Mandela, Steve Biko, and all those who made us proud by resisting colonialism and imperialism. Where we celebrate ourselves, this day is a day where we tell the whole world and those who care to listen that we are Africans and we are proud. We are not ashamed of being Africans. We are not ashamed of being black. We kill one another today because we don't know who we are. We call people Zimbabweans. We call people Malawians. We call people who come from outside Makwerekwere. Whereas we are Makwerekwere ourselves because we come from where those people come from. None of us come from here. We came from the north and found the koi and the sand here in Southern Africa, and we settled here.
You know, sometimes I'm forced to remind Africans, or also remind myself, that Africa in itself is just one big country. These 54 countries are just social constructs, you know. They are things that were developed, they were brought by the white person to separate us, but we are just one. We are one people. So don't think of yourself as a Kenyan, I'm a Ugandan, I'm a South African. There is this lady who, she lives in Swaziland, and she's married to a Kenyan, by the way. And she says that the things that she does while waking up in the morning in Swaziland or Eswatini are the same things that she experienced here in Kenya. The trees that they used to cook some firewood, the vegetables, how they cook their food is just similar. There's just a slight variation. The same way we cook ugali here in East Africa, the same way they cook their fufu in Nigeria and those other countries of West Africa. So don't think of yourself as, I am a Kenyan, I am a Nigerian. No, don't think of yourself that way. Think of yourself as one country. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because Julius Malema, our very own and beloved Julius Malema, stood up and reminded Africans about those times when we were one. He reminded Africans of the importance of unity. He reminded Africans that we need to come together in times of difficulties so that nobody is left behind. So that when, remember, first of all, remember when the Ghanaian president, Kwame Nkrumah, came into power, what did he say at first? He said that Ghana cannot say it is independent when any single African country is still colonized. That is a mindset of a Pan-Africanist. That is the mindset of somebody who views Africa as a single country, but not a country but not divisions. You understand? And so Julius Malema in this video gave a very powerful speech that I think will resonate with so many of you. I want us to watch it, and then by the end of the video, I shall share with you my thoughts, where we shall also have a deep critical analysis.
Our fellow African brothers and sisters from our continent, the richest continent in the world, and the most beautiful and most diverse continent in the world. We are here today to salute the fighting spirit of revolutionaries who resisted colonialism and subjugation of the black majority. We therefore are here to salute all liberation heroes and heroines, the kings and the queens who resisted colonial invasion, and the freedom fighters who refused to bow to the colonial masters. We are here to salute Haile Selassie, Julius Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah, Kenneth Kaunda, Patrice Lumumba, Amilcar Cabral, Toan Sanara, Nelson Mandela, Steve Biko, and all those who made us proud by resisting colonialism and imperialism. Africa Day is a celebration and recognition of Pan-Africanism. This day is a day where we celebrate ourselves. This day is a day where we tell the whole world and those who care to listen that we are Africans and we are proud. We are not ashamed of being Africans. We are not ashamed of being black. We kill one another today because we don't know who we are. We call people Zimbabweans. We call people Malawians. We call people who come from outside Makwerekwere. Whereas we are Makwerekwere ourselves because we come from where those people come from. None of us come from here. We came from the north and found the Khoi and the San here in Southern Africa, and we settled here. The Khoi and the San welcomed us here. So we should welcome others as well, the same way we were welcomed here. Know your history. You will appreciate our fellow brothers and sisters from Africa. Let us celebrate Pan-Africanists like Julius Nyerere. Those are the people we should know their history. Those are the people who welcomed the ANC and the PAC in exile in Tanzania, made it possible for them to be trained and come back to fight against the nonsensical, murderous apartheid regime. Today, when we see people from Tanzania, we see enemies. We see people who threaten us because we don't know the history of Africa. That it was people like Julius Nyerere who hosted us, who received us when it was difficult in South Africa during the times of apartheid. You will never appreciate Tanzania. You will never know the role that Tanzania played in our struggle. You will never know the role Julius Nyerere played in the revolution, because those who write our history, they distort it to suit the white man and project all our heroes as monsters who never did anything for Africa. We must celebrate African leaders in a manner that is befitting of celebrating such leaders. We must know who's Kwame Nkrumah. What did Kwame Nkrumah do for the continent of Africa? The father of independent Ghana, who said it is never enough to liberate Ghana alone, for as long as other African countries are still oppressed, Ghana is not free. We are free today because of the visionary leadership of Kwame Nkrumah. We need to know these people and know what role they've played. Who is Kenneth Kaunda? Can you tell us the role that independent Zambia played in the liberation of Southern Africa and South Africa in particular? Who is Toan Sanara? What did Toan Sanara do for the people of his country and the whole of African continent? Burkina Faso knew real leadership with Toan Sanara, the man who initiated progressive programs in Burkina Faso, the man who replaced the Mercedes-Benz we are driving with Ronalds, who said we cannot drive big cars when our people are suffering. We must downgrade the cars and drive in cars that will not create an impression that we are in it for ourselves. We must make sure that we have leaders who look up to Toan Sanara as one of their own. Not these leaders who are imposed on us, who are imposed by white media on us. We need leaders that have contributed to make us who we are. Amilcar Cabral always teaches us to always respect and tell the truth. Amilcar Cabral was one of the great intellectuals and revolutionary leaders produced by our continent. We must be able to celebrate Muammar Gaddafi, who wanted to unite the whole of Africa and create one currency which will not be reliant on the US dollar. The brother leader who gave the people of Libya land, who gave the people of Libya houses, livestock, seeds, and equipment to work the land. The man who gave the people of Libya free electricity, free education. The man who created a state bank in Libya. The man who gave women $5,000 every time they gave birth as a sign of appreciation. A tried and tested leader of Africa. Eswatini. What a beautiful name. This monarch of Swaziland, he has changed a colonial name, Swaziland, to Eswatini. South Africa, we still don't have a name till today. Because South Africa is not a name, it's a direction. South of Africa, it's not a name. We need a name for this beautiful country. This country shall be declared Azania because it is Azania. So we don't want to be called South Africa to please the colonizers. We are not South Africa. We are Azania. That's who we are. Because Africa Day means that we must assume the African identity. And in assuming African identity, we must start naming things by their rightful names. Start with your children. You cannot call your children with white people's names. You must first liberate yourself, liberate your mind from white oppression, from white slavery. The liberation of individual mind is important. For as long as your mind is in the hands of the white oppressors, you will never see the need to be a proud African who takes no nonsense from no one, particularly from white minorities. Africa means self-love. African means you must love yourself, and you cannot love yourself through identifying yourself with colonizers. And what colonizers want you to do. Today, when we say to our people, we need our land, you are the first one to say, Malema is going to put us into poverty. Why? You heard a white man saying that. You don't believe in that. You believe in everything that white man says. Today, white people say Cyril Ramaphosa is the best president. You all believe that. Why? Because white men love Cyril Ramaphosa. You love everything else that white man loves. Because you have made yourself in the image of your colonizers. Liberate yourself. Let us have a dignified African arrangement where we speak to each other with respect and dignity.
You know, when we start believing that Africa in itself is a single country, is the same time we will start preferring and we will start loving fellow Africans. We won't have cases of xenophobia. We won't have cases of tribalism. We won't have cases of visa, passports, deportations in Africa. No, we won't have that. Julius Malema, I always tell you, Julius Malema does not only belong to South Africa. Julius Malema is a voice that belongs to the entire community of Africa. Julius Malema is a man who came to fight for the rights of Julius Malema has been the voice of change in South Africa. Many times Nigerians confess that South Africa has been a country which is not favorable to them. Those fights you see online are fights between Nigeria and where? South Africa. Kenya versus Nigeria, Kenya versus Ghana. All this should end. I loved where Julius Malema said, Thomas Sankara is a voice that was there for all Africans. He acknowledges the history of Burkina Faso. By giving this speech, I think this is the best speech that Julius Malema has ever given. We have voices like Patrice Lumumba of Congo. Why do we remember him? We remember him because he didn't only speak for Congo, he spoke for the entire African countries. We have Nelson Mandela. He did not only speak for South Africa, he spoke for the entire African countries. We have Kwame Nkrumah. This man did not only speak for Ghana. He's the one who coined the term. If any country in Africa is still colonized and we are independent, we are not yet independent. That is a man who sees Africa as a whole, but not as pieces. Patrice Lumumba, Nelson Mandela, Kwame Nkrumah. We also had Thomas Sankara, the one who was assassinated by his very own friend. His friend, who was greedy and was used by the West, brought about the downfall of this man. But he forgets one thing. He forgets that the blood of Thomas Sankara, he forgets that the blood of the Burkinabe people are in his hands. You know, sometimes we have to acknowledge one thing. I'm not a politician, but if you're a politician, there's a difference between you being a politician and you being a leader. Choose the path of leadership. The path of leadership is not of your own self-interest, but is for the interest of the people you represent, the people you lead. You understand? In Africa, we have many politicians, but a very few leaders. These are the words of the scholar P.L.O. Lumumba, when he said, an African minister is a demigod. Yes. Toan Sanara is the one who inspired the person we have today in Burkina Faso. He's the one who inspired Ibrahim Traore. Thomas Sankara tried with all his might to overcome the French influence in his country. He would have succeeded if he would have had loyal friends with him, but because he didn't have, he failed. However, he made an attempt. It's for a very short time that we get such people. And when we get them, we need to acknowledge their presence. People like Ibrahim Traore, people like the president of Niger, the president of Mali, the president of Senegal, the president of Chad now removed the French from their countries. They found that the French are not bringing any help to them, but what they are bringing is destruction to their country. I don't know if you understand what I'm telling you right now. Self-interest in politics is what brings about poverty, is what brings problems. It is what causes civil wars. It is what causes these overthrowing and coup d'etats. If the president of Burkina Faso was like Thomas Sankara, Ibrahim Traore could not have overthrown him. Even before Ibrahim Traore, the country was always overthrown and overthrown and overthrown. Many of those West African countries are always overthrown. But where is the loophole? The loophole is found within these greedy leaders. If they can just work hard and mend themselves and see Africans first, not themselves, then I believe we will have a happy day tomorrow. We'll have a better tomorrow. Yes. And guys, this is EFK Original Documentaries. If you like what I do, kindly support me on Patreon, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your loved ones. Yeah, let them know about Toan Sanara, Julius Malema, and all these wonderful and outspoken African leaders. Yes, see you in the next one. Support me, by the way.